Well, today we're moving on to a different chore, a different job on the project. It's windows. Now, as you can see here, right there, that's a wood window. And underneath, right here, those are aluminum windows. Now, there was a time, way back in the day, I'm sure, that somebody got new windows, and they were wood windows. And all the neighbors were jealous because they looked and said, how can you afford to get all those windows? And they said that we saved, we scrimped, and we've got nothing but the best. And everybody came in and was so impressed with the new windows that were put into this house. But then, as time progressed, and technology showed that there was better options, what they did was, on the outside, they put storm windows. And again, the neighbors were like, oh, I am so impressed. How could you afford to get storm windows on that whole building? And they said, well, there's nothing but the best for our children. We don't want to draft. And everybody was excited, and they got the new windows. And then the neighbors who had to keep up with these people, of course, across the street, they got storm windows. And then they got storm windows. And then, well, they didn't get storm windows. They still have wood. Anyways, it was all exciting because everybody got storm windows, aluminum windows. It was an amazing thing. And I'm taking them all out. And why am I taking out all these windows? Because I'm telling you right now, they suck. They really don't do a really good job. And the screens are busted, and the aluminum's dirty, and some of the glass is broken, and they don't have a really good R rating, and the list goes on. So what I'm doing is putting in, now this is not an ad for Farley, it's just the kind of windows we bought. Farley windows in here. Now, according to this, they have a U factor of 0.26 US-IP, 1.48 metric SI, a solar heat gain coefficient of 0.49, visible transmittance 0.59, air leakage plus or negative or less than 0.3 or 1.5 metric SI. I have no idea what any of that means, other than we paid a stink load of money to have these windows put in. Now, I'm not sure if the neighbors are all going to be impressed. Personally, I don't really think they're going to care. But what was once something that was spectacular, something that was new, something that was fresh, something that was state of the art, now becomes obsolete. Why? Because things change. Now, for the time, those wood windows were great. For the time, those aluminum windows were awesome, and they augmented the wood windows just spectacularly. But they got old, times changed, we got a new need and different technology, so we are making some adjustments. See, and here's the thing. People come in here and they look at the windows for what they are now, and they say, oh, those are outdated and those are old. But you know what, there was a time, and if you remember back in that time, they were great. Maybe things have changed. Maybe we are doing things a little bit differently now, but that's not to say that at the time, those windows served a purpose. They met the expectations and they provided for a need. When they didn't, they got aluminum windows. Same thing. They provided for a need at that time. See, a lot of times we look at something new and then we throw out the old because we forget that at the time it had a purpose. I remember when I was in church when I was a kid, we did things a lot differently. Sang hymns with a piano and an organ. That was it. On the chorus night, somebody would break out a guitar. I remember David Wade playing his guitar way back in the day. Then things got, a little newer, and they said, you know what, we could use maybe a few more instruments. Maybe we can throw some drums in there. And, a lot of people were a little uptight. They said, we never needed drums back in the day. But you know what? You were serving a need to a certain group of people, and now we've got drums. Why? Because we've got a different group of people with a different set of needs and a different set of interaction levels and connection levels that were different than they were a few years ago. But you know what? That does not negate one over the other. What we're saying is at one point, things worked. Now things change. Change isn't a bad thing. Change is a part of growth. I think a lot of us would be a lot more open to growth if we were open to change. That's not saying we throw the baby out with the bathwater, but if we're not willing to change, I can pretty much guarantee we're not going to be willing to grow either. So being open to different directions God takes us and the different things that God shows us and the different opportunity that God gives us is a good thing. Sometimes it's looking, saying, God, where are you moving now? Throughout the scripture, God took people from one place and put them in the other. He took them, Abraham, out of the land of Ur and then brought him to Canaan, and then they took him out of there and they went to Egypt, and then God took them out of there and took them to Israel. And God kept moving the people around, and if they weren't willing to change, if they weren't willing to grow, they would have been stuck right where they were. Never would have left Ur. Ur was good for a time, but God had better plans, and God said, we're time to move on. God had better plans, and God had better plans, and God has better plans, and God still has better plans for you than where you're at right now, for me than where I'm at right now, and that's encouraging. So I hope this word has been encouraging to you. You can think of all the things that God is doing and be encouraged and be blessed and move forward in wherever God's taking you. Hope this has been encouraging to you. God bless you. We'll talk to you soon.